Happy New Year. I hope you've had some restorative time, some time to be with family and some space to let some joy into your lives. And I wish that knowing that that may not be the case for you, or maybe a combination of both, real struggle and real joy. I know for me, I did have some extra time. I wasn't here last Sunday, and I had a couple weeks after Christmas where I could just take an easier pace, sleep in a little bit. I could walk my dogs a little bit longer. I could read some of the books that are on stacks all over my house. And that was really nice. And I was also aware of this way in which a little bit of extra space in my life allowed for some anxieties and uneasiness to really flow in. That busyness keeps that anxiety at bay for me. And I wrestled with that a little bit, how to hold that uneasiness and that anxiety with that extra space. There's science studies about anxiety and whether it's on the rise, and it seems from the little research I did, it seems inconclusive of whether it is actually on the rise. But anecdotally, I can't help but notice that more and more, especially young people, are experiencing just debilitating levels of anxiety. And it's understandable. There's a lot that's unraveling in our world. I don't really need to go through the list, I don't think. But one of the thoughts rattling around in my head these last 2 weeks is that we in the United States are experiencing the end of an empire. It's not an original thought. And in a strange way, I find some comfort in that. Empires rise and empires fall, and the world continues on, and humanity continues on. And we also need to be cognizant of who is crushed in the crumbling. And I have to wonder what comes after empire, what might be possible after the empire falls. I knew I had the book After Empire on my shelves here at church, so with some urgency I came on New Year's Eve to find it on my shelf and pour through it. I was really looking for answers, or at least a glimmer of possibility that something redemptive, life-giving, and love-manifesting might arise from the ashes of this possibly or probably crumbling empire. I found in the pages of Welch's book reminders that despair is self-indulgent and minimizes the suffering endured by generations of marginalized people throughout history, and that despair is real. Rather than trying to guess what might come out of the ashes as destruction looms, a more creative response is to be in the present moment as fully as we're able, building connection with those in the resistance and of the revolution. Welch reminds us of the creative collective power that we are a part of imperfectly and beautifully. Justice, she writes, in all its forms is our work, our creation, our unfinished task. Our response to the oppression and injustice of the world can be defeat or resilience. We do have some agency, never in isolation, never alone, but in relationship. I found comfort in the words of Thich Nhat Hanh, the reminder that good and evil exists in all of us, that creative and destructive power resides within, between, and beyond this human experience every moment. As humanists, we do not desire to become divine, states Welch, but rather we work to be human, spirit and dust, and our prayers, our venues, opening us to our embeddedness in nature, in history, its perils and its promise. The myth of the phoenix, a sunbird associated with death and rebirth, has been a symbol in Egyptian, Roman, Asian, and Islamic cultures for thousands of years. It was said that only one phoenix could live at a time, and the lifespans range from 500 to 10,000 years. When it reached the end of its life, the phoenix built a nest of spices and fragrant branches and then lit itself on fire. Out of the ashes, a new magical bird arose. The phoenix signifies the inevitable truth that growth and transformation arise out of ruin. In order for something new to emerge, we must let go of what is no longer serving us. Creation and destruction go hand in hand, which is a painful and frightening truth, which the natural world exemplifies. Think of seed pods bursting open in the raging wildfires in Australia and in the western states. Hope does spring eternal, and new possibilities can and do emerge from utter devastation. In that process, how can we participate in a way that reduces harm and trauma? How do we stay connected to one another amidst the destruction? The practice of building beloved community is ongoing. It will not be simple, but we must remember, above all else, that we are not alone and that our resilience and restoration comes from our relationships with each other and with the source of love. Reverend Dr. Waltrina N. Middleton, Executive Director of Community Renewal Society, wrote these encouraging words this week in her email to supporters. We don't know how this new day will meet us, as it may find us burdened with grief and sorrow, or frightened and abandoned. It may find us in the birth pangs of rebuilding. This work we are called to do together will not be easy. Racism continues to fester and soar, along with homophobia, sexism, and other acts of bigotry from Chicago to Washington, D.C. The disparities are undeniable, and yet neither can we deny our collective power to resist and rejoice at the same time. We must do both, she writes. I agree that we must do both. We must let go of our fears and despair, and we must hold on to our imagination and our connection to one another. We must resist hating those who we see as wrong or evil, and we must hang on to and rejoice in our collective commitment to dismantle the harm of evil actions and systems and policies. We return again and again to each other and to our renewed intention to build a better world, brick by brick, seed by seed, and word by word. So, with our intention to allow new growth to emerge and to release what has interfered with our transformation, we move into our annual fire communion ritual. I give thanks to Joan Kahn Schneider for the creation of this ritual, the language we use here. We pause now at the beginning of a new year. An artificial beginning, to be sure, but still a time to reflect, like Janus, the god for whom January was named. We glance back at past joys and sorrows, that what has passed can guide us toward what is yet to be. Let us reflect for a moment on some of the things that happened to us in the world in 2019. First, let's think of the good things. There were some. What are you proud of? What were your gains and accomplishments? What were some of the special blessings of this past year? Consider those things for which you are grateful and what you would like to take with you into 2020. You have those two pieces of paper in your order of service. One piece is shaped like a heart. This is the one that I invite you to write your hopes, your dreams, your wishes, your goals for the coming year. I know it's small, a word or two or a phrase to capture your thoughts. And you can always write more when you get home. Just take a moment to write down the things you want to hold on to. If you need a pencil or if you didn't get a heart in your order of service, raise your hand. We've got folks, Nancy and Carol, who are willing to bring you a pencil. There we go. Thank you. We come to the opening of 2020 also with regrets, events from the past year that we want to let go of and forget, to put behind us. Disappointments, opportunities missed, losses, failures, unwelcomed burdens, things you said or did that you wish you hadn't said or done, things you didn't say or do that you wish you had, things you want to let go, angers and fears and regrets, hopes unfulfilled. And now on the other piece, the red tissue paper, write those things that you want to dispose of. Take a minute. And I invite you to take that heart-shaped paper and tuck it into a pocket or your wallet or purse. And when you get home, put it on the fridge or tie a string through the little hole and hang it somewhere that you might see it throughout this year. May it be a reminder of your good intent and your good resolve. And in just a minute, I'm going to invite you to come forward if you wish to bring those things that you want to release. As together we let go of all that we wish to not take with us into the new year. I encourage you to only light the red tissue paper on fire, not your order of service or any part of your order of service. Doesn't make way too much smoke. But you might want to fold it in half or in quarters and touch it lightly to the flame. You could even crumple it into a little ball and just throw it in if you're a little nervous about the fire. We do have a fire extinguisher here, just in case. So I invite you to come forward now. And if you do have your guest at your table boxes that you were filling throughout the holiday season, you can bring those forward too or leave them at the back table before you leave today. Please join me